Hello and welcome to Dare to Know, interviews with quality and reliability thought leaders. I'm Tim Rogers, and today I'm very pleased to welcome back Bob Latino. Robert Latino is the CEO of Reliability Center, which is a 46-year-old reliability consulting firm specializing in improving equipment, process, and human reliability. Bob is an internationally recognized author, trainer, software developer, and practitioner of best practices in the field of reliability engineering with a specialty in root cause analysis. He's facilitated RCA and FMEA analyses with his clients around the world for over 33 years and has taught over 10,000 students in the PROACT methodology. Bob is the author or co-author of 5 books related to reliability, FMEA, human error reduction, and RCA. The 5th edition of Root Cause Analysis, Improving Performance for Bottom Line Results, is now available from CRC Press. Bob Latino, welcome and thanks for joining us again.
Well, thanks for having me again, Tim. I really enjoyed the last time, and here we are a couple of years later, and we'll see what kind of updates we get.
All right. So, Bob, I know you're on the 5th edition of your book, but what I'd really like to ask you about is this new Easy RCA software solution. Can you tell us a little bit more about Easy RCA?
Sure. And thanks for the platform to go ahead and kind of clarify, because it's kind of a unique thing. The reason that we're doing this is that Easy RCA is an agnostic or neutral RCA solution. While we have had the PROACT proprietary brand of RCA for a long time, decades, we realized over a period of time that our user base is typically a sophisticated user base. They use most of the features that we have in the program, which is enterprise class. And we did some market research. We did a lot of market research, as a matter of fact, and we found out that there's a hell of a lot more people out there that are using other things than PROACT that don't have tools to do however they're doing their RCA. So we saw this as a business opportunity, and it's kind of a strategic shift, a business shift for us to be able to look at. Most of the time, as other businesses do, is that we want to sell our brand of RCA, and that would require people conforming to the way we do RCA. Well, this was a mental shift and reaching out to the people who don't do RCA the way that we do it, and providing them a tool that will make however they do RCA better and easier. So Easy RCA was a shift in that direction. That it doesn't matter whether you're doing 5 whys or fishbones or causal factor trees, because especially if you're using cause and effect type of expressions, then it's blocks and lines. And as people get sick of me talking about it, is any analysis methodology is only as good as the analyst who's facilitating it.
Sure.
So in this case, what we said was we're going to provide an astoundingly easy tool to go ahead and be able to provide these people something that, it's not going to be in Excel and PowerPoint and, it's scattered all over the earth and not talking to each other in a database. So we created, after a lot of market research, Easy RCA, and the requirements, it's interesting because we were saying, well, who are we really competing with?
Right.
And we're really competing with craft paper and Post-its. and that's, while it seems like it's semantics, it really isn't, because and anybody who's been doing this for decades, or, a long time, is going to recognize that we've all been in these conference rooms and we've all had craft paper on the wall and doing these Post-its, and then some poor soul after this has to go in and transcribe that into some other program. Say it's PowerPoint or say it's Visio, and then those flat files don't talk to each other. So we saw this as an opportunity, and Another requirement on this was that it had to be so intuitive that there would be no training required. And I'm really proud of the fact in the development and our really bright guys that do that stuff is that you shouldn't be. I probably shouldn't say this on your show. You shouldn't be doing RCA if you can't use this tool. It is just that simple and intuitive, and we had always wanted it to be that way, and I think we hit the nail on the head.
Well, we'll provide a link in the show notes so folks can take a look at it and judge for themselves. But I think the name speaks for itself.
Yeah. It's and again, you can use 5 Ys, you can use fish bones in there, you can use any variation of those or trees. Again, it's not. We're not in the position to be judging the way that people do their RCAs. We're just providing something that will make how they do them better and easier.
So, Bob, let me shift gears on you for a minute. But back in August of this year, you wrote a post on your reliability.com blog called Defining Root Cause Analysis. I guess I was a little surprised when I saw that title. Have we not figured out what root cause analysis is by now?
We have not. Even if Tim, if I was going to ask you and say, well, why don't you define RCA? What does RCA mean to you?
Boy, that's a great question. I think I know it when I see it, but I'm not sure that I could do a very good job providing a definition. I mean, what I see is a lot of people who look for something superficial. They try to fix. They're so eager to fix whatever's wrong that they don't dig deep enough. I mean, they don't understand the root part of root cause analysis.
Yeah, and ironically enough, I do a lot of presentations, and I think it's just because of the title, to be honest. But it's root cause analysis versus shallow cause analysis. What's the difference? And the what people call RCA will range anywhere from extensive aircraft investigations down to a 5 Ys analysis, down to a bar napkin, where we just take a pen and we ink it out. So the variation in what people call RCA, no matter what problem solving tool they're using, they'll call it RCA. And that's even made more confusing by all of the different regulatory definitions of RCA that are out there to pick from, whether it's DOE or EPA or FDA. Everybody's got their own, and it makes it difficult for those people getting into this business to understand exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And I got 35, 36. Well, I'll just go with your number of years. in this business. And do you mind if I go ahead and from that article that you were referencing, can I just say my definition?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And this is going to be terribly intimidating, and will probably push people away from RCA. But I'm gonna clarify when I'm done.
Let's hope not.
It's the establishing of logically complete, evidence-based, tightly coupled chains of factors from the least acceptable consequences to the deepest significant underlying causes. Now, that's a mouthful, and it's scary, and it says, well, damn, that's pretty complex. I don't want to do that stuff. So if I break it down by keywords, and I say, what does logically complete mean?
Right.
It's simply the difference between asking how could and why. If I ask you how could a crime occur,
right,
versus why a crime occurs, your answers are very different. So,
good point.
So when you're asking how could, you're looking for all of the possibilities. Whereas when you're getting into why, that's more human reasoning, and that deals with when you get to a decision maker. I don't want to ask how could they have done that. I want to know why they did it.
Yeah.
So the how could question is actually much more appropriate when you're dealing with the exploration of the physics of failure. And then when you get down to that human decision maker, then you're going to be starting to explore the reasoning, and then I want to know why someone did it. What were the conditions at that time?
Right.
And then you have evidence based. Simply put, I don't consider it as RCA. It could be if you're using hearsay to fly as fact.
Boy, I agree with. I think this is the one place where a lot of RCA breaks down. Is it's not evidence based.
Yeah, and and for good or for evil, a lot of people, whenever you're time pressured to do anything, you take shortcuts. And if I'm time pressured to do my RCAs, the thing that takes the most time in an RCA is going to be evidence collection. So
I agree.
we will expense that evidence collection because we are pressured to come up with an answer, not the right answers.
Good point. Yeah.
And the other thing is the key word in that is tightly coupled, and that's an odd combination. But this makes the case for cause and effect relationships as opposed to cause categories in brainstorming. So some approaches will say, we have man, we have machine, we have methods, and
Right.
then we will brainstorm within a category, but there is no cause and effect relationship showing a correlation between them. It's just that we think in these categories that these things happened, but we
Right.
don't have a sequence. And the least acceptable consequences are going to be what are the triggers that make us do an RCA? I mean, that's the least acceptable consequence. And typically in our organizations, the consequences are relatively high because
Yep.
I'm not going to do an RCA unless somebody's hurt. It costs a lot, over $100,000 or this much of production.
Right.
And that's not even. Well, I could go rolling on and on with this, Tim, because that's when we're doing RCAs on singular events. But to me, if your real money is not in those events because they're typically one-offs, is that if you look at the chronic failures and you do a simple calculation of frequency per year times impact per occurrence, you'll find out that most of those chronic things, when you annualize their cost, far outweigh the cost of that one-off.
Sure.
And then when you factor in lost production, labor, and materials into, and then it's happening 100 times a year. Those little things ain't little no more.
We never seem to have time to do it right. I've forgotten how that quote goes. There's plenty of time to do it.
But we have time to do it again.
Time to do it right. So, it doesn't seem like folks are willing to put the time in to really do a thorough job, and then we have to come back and do it again.
Well, and that should be a leading indicator for the effectiveness of an RCA program. Is that how many times are we doing the RCAs over and over again, the same ones?
Well, it sounds it's a very good blog post. I really recommend folks check that out on the reliability.com blog. But Bob, you've been a very vocal proponent for more collaboration between the reliability engineering community and the safety engineering community. I mean, you've made the point that reliable systems are not necessarily safe, and safe systems are not necessarily reliable. How are things going between the reliability community and the safety community these days?
I guess it's inherently, if you're an investigator, your obligation is to understand both sides. And I spent a couple years trying to understand how the safety community views the reliability community, and why. Because the safety community, I don't know what that noise was. The safety community, I found when they're talking about reliability, that I would say a great deal of them see reliability as a component-based property, is that we're parts fixers.
Right.
We're people that deal with parts. Now, my organization it's nearly 50 years old, and it was established as a research and development group in a company called Allied Chemical, which is Honeywell today.
Right.
And they had started transitioning the reliability principles from aviation into heavy industry, the chemical industry in that case. And this is 50 years ago. But the focus of our research was around equipment, process, and human reliability. And I was fighting tooth and it was just amazing because I would talk with these prominent safety folks, and everybody's well intentioned. There's no evil or animosity.
No, no, no.
There's just misunderstandings. And when I would hear about how they would describe reliability, and it was that predominantly we deal with mechanical and electrical things. And I says from a holistic standpoint, I guess there are people that will say their vibration program is their reliability program. But the predominance of people that I deal with, they view it holistically, and that process reliability is included, and especially human reliability. The way that they were characterizing RCA was very narrow.
Right.
And one of them, I'll tell his name was Gareth Locke, and he's given me permission, and I wrote a paper on it with his permission. He put me in my place because I was wondering where he gets that impression, and damn if he didn't bring up Wikipedia. And Wikipedia's definition was right down the line of making reliability engineering look mechanical.
Yeah.
So then I went to my friends at SMRP and I said, I think we got a public relations problem. I think we need to fix this.
Bob, reliability engineers are generally pretty good at the physics and the engineering, but they're not so good at the social sciences and working with people and working on business process improvement. What can we do to help reliability engineers look at the system as a whole?
Well, from my purest view of RCA, the root systems sequentially would look like, when a failure occurs and a process is shut down, or, whatever the undesirable outcome is, there's certain observable physics of the failure. And, we'll get down past the bearing, we'll get down past the fatigue, we'll get down past the thermal side of the fatigue, but eventually you're going to hit a human. So there's a human decision maker involved. It was either error of omission or commission, but humans trigger these things. And then beneath the human, if you stop at RCA and you use it as a weapon to blame people, then you're not going to be doing RCA long because nobody's going to participate in your program.
Good point.
You have to understand that as a RCA investigator, is that your sole purpose. The humans are not the causes. The humans are the victims of the systems. So what we want to do is go in and understand why that person that day felt the decision they made was the right one. That's where the questioning switches from the how can and the physics side to on that day, why did you think that was the right thing to do? I mean, these people, these decision makers, they get their paycheck from this place. This is how they feed their family. They don't wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to go really screw up the system today.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Bob. I don't think people are deliberately trying to sabotage their companies. They're doing the best they can. I think it was Duran or Deming, I'm not sure which, who estimated that 85% of the problems that we encounter are because of processes, not because of people.
Yeah, I think it probably is even higher with that. It's interesting, and I this is a variation of a quote, and I can't remember where I got it from, but we tend to judge other people's decisions based on their outcomes, but we prefer to be judged on our decisions by our intent. And from an RCA standpoint, the entire purpose of doing the RCA is to understand the intent of the decision. And if we are good at that and we accomplish that, we will understand that it was flawed management systems, organizational systems, like our training systems were never updated. We implemented new technologies and we didn't implement the associated procedures to do that. We,
Right.
I see all the time where we have defects that are introduced into the system by defective parts. And then you start to find out that, purchasing people are getting bonuses for reducing costs while maintenance costs are skyrocketing.
Yep.
Where's that correlation?
It's not a very good holistic view of cost.
So if you just grab onto that concept of physical roots, human roots, and latent roots, I mean that's a systemic view of why things go wrong. And I think that if we and a lot of people unfortunately only use RCA for the reactive side when we talked about triggers earlier. But I would really, it would be a key indicator to me of a progressive organization if you were tracking the number of RCAs that you're doing that are proactive versus reactive.
Right.
And the proactive ones would be focusing on the chronic failures that don't hit triggers on their individual impacts, the near misses with that have that had a high severity risk. And all of these organizations that regulatorily wise have to do risk assessments, FMEA type assessments, say there's no reason you can't do an RCA on unacceptable risks. Why are the risks so high? And then if we're really good at that kind of thing, at doing RCAs on risks, then we should avoid the consequences and not have to do RCAs on reactively.
You sound like fire prevention instead of firefighting.
Yeah. I mean, the goal is not to become a better first responder. The goal is to figure out, say, well, why am I responding at all?
Good point. Bob, this has been great. Thanks so much for being with us again today.
Oh, I appreciate the time and let me blather on.
Well, hope to have you back again sometime.
Okay. Thank you, Tim.
That was Bob Latino, CEO of the Reliability Center. To learn more about the training programs at the Reliability Center, go to www.reliability.com. We'll post some of the links to some of Bob's articles on the show notes for this recording. This is Tim Rogers. Thanks for joining us.